Hi, Mr. Kearney. We're here from the Milton United Methodist Church, and we want to find out more about Northcott Neighborhood House. First of all, can you tell me how this all got started?
This all got started with those three young ladies behind. So Wilma Hempel, who happened to have been married to a member of the school board and was friends with the mayor, was able to get the mayor to give her space in the housing authority's hillside housing project. So they got one little room there, and she was able to convince Bishop Northcott, whom the organization is named after, to allow her to create this organization. So going through that, finding the mayor, getting some additional funding from both the United Methodist and the city of Milwaukee, they were able to hire Lucius Walker, the gentleman there in the pink, to be the first executive director of Northcott. So that's kind of its genesis, and what they were seeing were a lot of families that were from the South that were living in subpar conditions, most undereducated, unemployed, and struggling to make a way for their children. So it was just a push. It was really one woman saying, we're going to do this, and convincing some of her friends to come along with her. So those young ladies made a very strong push to make sure Northcott existed. While Bishop Northcott was convinced to do it by putting his name on it, they would have done it anyway. So no United Methodist women, no Northcott.
And here we are 60 plus years further down the road.
63 years later, we serve thousands of people.
And where you are now, is that the same location as where they've...
No, we've actually had 4 separate locations. So at one point we were at Ethworth United Methodist Church, and we've been on King Drive, which was the old 3rd Street. This facility was built for Northcott in 1986. So we've been here since 1986.
And is this big enough for what you're doing?
No. We outgrew this building probably 20 years ago. When we started to diversify, this facility was built for children. And we looked at how we serve children, and one of the ways we found that we had to serve them was to help reduce the poverty. And the way to do that was to create employment and training programs. And we did that through our construction training, which was at the time called Fresh Start, and it only trained 8 people a year. We've advanced to what's called Milwaukee Builds. And instead of building 1 house a year, we work with developers and we build or rehab hundreds. So over the past decade, we've done 842 houses that we've either built from the ground up or rehabbed. We don't do every single thing on a project, but on most projects, we're going to do all the roofing and all the siding, or with rehabs, we do all the demolition. So our guys are licensed to do lead abatement and asbestos abatement. And all the homes we're rehabbing were built prior to 1978, which means they automatically have lead paint and asbestos in them. So part of our training gets individuals their licenses to do it, which makes them a lot more employable because they can go anywhere once they have that license. And that's been a goal of our projects, to always make sure that we're not giving a person a fish, we're teaching them to fish, but we're also teaching them to teach other people to fish. So having that license makes them portable in terms of young man went to Minneapolis and he was able to call us and we were able to ship his file. So all he had to do was take the test, not go back through all the training. Illinois, the states have a joint venture, so I can actually work in Illinois with my Wisconsin license, or vice versa. So having the license is important. Now, we've grown from having just the construction training program. We now have an arborist program. So we're teaching young people how to care for trees, not just cut them down. They get 2 national certifications and college credits. So they get a ground operation certification and a tree care certification from the National Tree Care Academy. So again, portable.
When some young person comes into this program, how long does it take before they are finished and they're ready to get a job?
It takes 4 to 6 months, depending on the program. Yes, ma'am. Our entire supervisory staff are former program members. So they've been here, and all except one of them has been incarcerated. So that's the other thing that we managed to do, is to make the door swing one way. Because individuals who commit crimes are ultimately going to come back to this community. And if we don't give them something positive to do, they're going to commit other crimes. Here, we give you an opportunity to learn a lifelong skill that pays you. Our trainees are paid while they're in training. So I'm not going to make the $25 an hour that I would make working with another company, but we're going to pay them the wage that's required. And right now, the residential preference is $13.19 an hour. On the project we're on, we chose to pay them $15 an hour because we get paid for doing the project. We're paying them. So if they were, in fact, on an arborist program, we would be doing city properties that we would be cutting down trees or whatever. So we pay them the $13.19 an hour. Once they go to their employer, they're going to make $38,000 to $40,000, depending on the employer, to start in their pre-apprentice. Once they complete their apprenticeship, they would go to $44,000. And we just had our first one that became an actual arborist. So he's been through everything, and he's now a member of the Wisconsin Arborist Council. It generally takes 4 years. He did it in 2.5. So that his employer was pushing just like we were. So that's probably the beauty of our projects, is that we actually had the employers committed to the project before we start training. So I'm guaranteed I'm going to have a job if I graduate. It's my opportunity to shine or screw up.
And if you have a good reputation as training people and that are really good once they finish, then you would have people waiting to get your next graduating class.
Yes. And employers get to see them because they're doing the real thing. They're working on a real house that somebody's going to live in, or they're actually cutting down a tree, or they're trimming or putting the chemicals in to save a tree. So it's a real live internship. So they're seeing what you do in an 8-hour day. And we've always had our employers involved up front. We're about to, coming in the fall, do a pharmacy tech program with Walgreens. And the young people would actually be cashiers at Walgreens part-time while they're in school learning to be a pharmacy tech. Mm-hmm. So the transition would be natural. You're just changing positions within the organization. There's no need to even consider looking for a job. Although with a license, they could opt to go someplace else. We're hoping that they stay with Walgreens so we continue that relationship. But if someone's going to offer you more money, we don't advise them to turn down opportunities.
Now, we're especially interested in any young women who have gone through your program. Do you have many young women?
We don't have a lot of young women that go through our construction training or arborists because they're both very arduous programs. We do have some that have graduated, and actually our best roofer was hired by the company she works for because the owner of the company happened to see her on the roof, and he was just driving by looking at our project, and he stopped and asked me, was that a woman? And I said, yes. I called her down, and that was the last day she worked for Northcott. So we find that there's some things that women are much better at. Even with our arborist program, they are much better at running the equipment than men.
Really?
Men are better at climbing trees, but in terms of the precision with the equipment, the women have been much better. Now we have a small sample, but they have been much better than men.
Good, good. And I know you have the hydroponics program. That's one of your newer ones?
Yes, hydroponics is for our youth.
Okay.
So our goal there is to get you engaged and hopefully move on to college. There are a lot of underutilized USDA scholarships. And since we deal with predominantly African American young people, most of the HBUs are land grant colleges, which means USDA scholarships automatically come with them. And they're underutilized. These kids think of farming as opposed to thinking of you growing food. Hydroponics is understanding the water sciences. So we're trying to get them to understand that. Also generate competition. So if 3 teams are growing lettuce, can my team grow more lettuce than you? We can actually grow lettuce in 28 days. So, and to get the older kids to mentor the youngers. So high school kids mentoring elementary and middle school kids. So my team would be 3 high school kids, 2 middle schoolers, and 2 elementary kids. So I got to bring my team along, and we got to outgrow these other folks. And the food we grow is going to go out in our food pantry.
So are the youth more interested in eating the food they're growing? I mean, does that, no.
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 It's vegetables. That's still a struggle to get them to eat their vegetables. They enjoy growing it merely because you're doing something that hasn't been done before. And two, the competition. And because we have a complete curriculum for hydroponics, we're slowly sneaking them toward the academics of it without slamming them. So at the end of the day, our goal is to be able to take them on tours. So University of Wisconsin has one of the best schools for agriculture in the Midwest. We want to be able to get them on campus so they can see it all, what the total impact is. And if I'm just studying the science of feed, so they need to know exactly what's going on and get out of the city.
Where does the energy come from to run all these programs and keep on top of what's going on with each one? And you know, you must have a phenomenal staff.
I do. My staff is small but very dedicated.
You have a lot of volunteers.
No, we don't have a lot of volunteers. We have volunteers, but not a lot. Most of our volunteers are senior citizens, but the majority of everyone that you saw out there when you came in, they're all on staff. So they get a paycheck to do what they're doing. And we're doing all kinds of very unique things, you know. Juneteenth, which we're preparing for right now, it'll be our 52nd annual. We're gonna see 50 to 70,000 people, but that requires a lot of volunteers. Last year we had 162 volunteers for Juneteenth. This year we'd like to have 300, just for the parade alone because of its expansion. We need 75 volunteers. We also expanded the distance of the actual festival. So we have Kid Zone, which is at Martin Luther King Elementary School on the playground, that has a carnival and pony rides and a petting zoo and all kinds of games. We need volunteers to do that. We have Teen Zone, which is in Clinton Rose Park, that has basketball tournaments and three-point contests, dunk contests, hula hoop contests, double dutch. We need people to be there to run that. This year we're also going to have some Little League games that are going there. We're adding a senior zone. So our collaboration with Walgreens, on Walgreens parking lot, we're going to have senior zones. So we'll be doing testing for the seniors, and they'll have their own stage, their own music, and variety of prizes. Direct Supply, which is a company that supplies nursing homes and stuff like that with the beds, the chairs, whatever. They're also a co-sponsor of Senior Zone. And they do a lot of little trinkets that will be given away in Senior Zone. So we're trying to make sure that there is something for everyone.
And I think I saw that you had involved the police department. Or?
Well, yes. Well, we have a solid relationship with MPD, and actually MPD will have a team in Teen Zone. So hopefully we'll beat the crap out of them again this year. But in terms of security, we'll have about 200 police officers and 25 members of the Sheriff's Department. because Milwaukee County Park, Clinton Rose, is under the Sheriff's Department. So it's under the county, ergo the Sheriff's Department has to do the protection. So providing crowd control, traffic control, but our police officers, because they are partners with us, they're not there looking to arrest people. They're there mingling with the crowd, enjoying what's going on. Fortunately, in the last 5 years, we have had no arrest. Now, in 2021, we did not actually have a physical Juneteenth. It was all virtual. But the 2021 was the first actual festival to happen in the city of Milwaukee. So it's the first time people got up close and personal to each other. And we were fine. We found that the only issue we had was scooters. So last year there were no scooters, and this year we're having them cut off. So you can't, they won't operate on King Drive.
Okay, so Northcott was started by a faith-based organization. How is that faith still reflected in your organization today?
Okay. Northcott was started by the United Methodist Women. Okay, not the United Methodist Men, the United Methodist Women. And we were given a mission, and we continue to be on that mission. Everything that we do, all of the new program design, it is all consistent with the original mission. Nothing's changed. We still have our covenant, which gets renewed on an annual basis. So the board still continues to have members of the United Methodist Church throughout the state involved. Actually, our annual meeting is on Sunday, where the new board will be seated. And it has members from as far as actually Bristol is the farthest member besides the bishop, who's an ad hoc member of the board of directors. So we continue to fulfill the mission and maintain that fact. Our contracts with the city of Milwaukee, we clearly let them know that we are a faith-based organization because of that. So,
Has having Northcott Neighborhood House made a difference for Milwaukee?
yes. So, Northcott is a cornerstone agency in Milwaukee. It serves people citywide. So whether we're talking about our youth services activities, our senior services, our employment activities, people citywide come to Northcott. When we're doing our major events, we're seeing people citywide, statewide. And Juneteenth, there are quite a few vendors from out of state, as far as California. I didn't know until last year that we had California vendors who'd actually been here in prior years, who came last year and are already registered this year. When we do our 'Tis the Season activity, which is Thanksgiving and Christmas, where we prepare 1,000 meals for families of 4, those individuals are coming citywide to receive those. During Christmas, we also add toys for kids 12 and under, which last year was 5,600 kids. For teenagers, we give them gloves, hats, and hygiene products. And we had 384 of those last year. So it's just been building over the past 3 years that we utilize that format. Also, in 2022, we looked at homeless people who are not going to be able to take a meal home. So we prepared 250 of those meals that they could consume here. If we allowed those who wanted to take the meal with them to take it, but we provided space for those who needed to consume that meal here to actually eat here. So we did that for both Christmas, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we will continue that going forward. So do we mean a lot to Milwaukee? Yes.
Can you give me an example of a person whose life was changed by Northcott?
Yeah, me.
You. Tell me how.
How? Well, I would say the job God gives you. I've had a number of executive level jobs, even in New York City, where I made nearly 3 times my current salary. However, feeling good about what you do every single day, knowing that every day you help someone, that's the single most important thing. I, like most of my staff, could go elsewhere. The job is so rewarding that you don't want to go elsewhere. Ms. Coggs, who you interviewed earlier, is a former elected official. She definitely does not have to be at Northcott. There are a lot of people that would hire her. Our construction trainees, throughout the 23 years that we have done this, 88% of them have been former felons. We've had less than 5% recidivation, i.e. individuals returning to prison. We train between 40 and 60 individuals on an annual basis. They're not returning to prison. Our entire crew of supervisors, which is right now 9 individuals, are former felons who revitalized this community. So if you think about every house that we built or rehabbed, it's over 800 houses. We took a tax burden, whether it was a vacant lot or eyesore home, and turned it into a tax-paying property in the city of Milwaukee. Each of those individuals have pride in, I built that house or I rehabbed that house. The houses that our young people build, we have them sign the cornerstone. So no matter what, their signature's always there. And you can always say, hey, I helped improve this neighborhood. So I'd like to take you guys around the immediate neighborhood, and we built homes here. And we actually built an entire block over on 26th and Cherry, between 26th and 27th. Those young people built homes that are actually better built than my home. And I had a Williams and Ryan, who's a home builder, build my house. And they build better homes because they build Energy Star efficient. And they build with love, which is the most important thing. Because someone cared enough about them to say, I don't care what happened in the past. This is your fresh start. And you're going to be a contributing member to society. So forget the fact that you went to prison for whatever it was, selling drugs, robbery, whatever. We don't care. Our job is to now help you transition back and be a positive member of society. that they've done. They've gone from tax burden to taxpayer. And that happens to every single individual that we train. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about our construction training, Milwaukee Builds, our arborist program, or we're starting landscape design this year where we'll be teaching them to operate heavy equipment. So we've got a bunch of equipment from Bobcat, skid loaders, backhoes, mini skid loaders, a reticulated skid loader. We've got all of that stuff, all of the accessories. And they're going to actually learn in collaboration with MATC and David J. Frank, which is a landscape company, actually the largest in the state, how to do landscape design. And they'll be paid while they're learning, but they'll actually be doing the landscape on the properties that we're working on. So it's real world. It's not just, we're going to go and we're going to shovel this dirt around. No, we're going to actually make these very, very, we're going to create curb appeal in these houses in a design that you're going to know how to do it. You're going to know how to operate the equipment. Plus, you're going to be certified nationally to operate the equipment. And at the end of the day, you'll work for David J. Frank.
It's a good thing.
Yes, ma'am.
All good things.
So each of those individuals, their life is transitioned.
One more question. What are your dreams for Northcott's future?
My dream is right now to expand our youth area. I want to create a 24-hour daycare here with the catalyst being our own trainees, because they are parents. So if you brought your kid to Northcott every day when you're going to training or you're going off to work, at the end of the day, your kid's at Northcott. They're safe. They're going to get 3 meals a day. They're going to be educated. That's my dream. So when you get your job, if you're working second shift, bring your kid to Northcott. It's a place that you trust and you know your children are going to be saved. So that's one of my dreams for Northcott, to be able to just serve hundreds of kids, do that, to eliminate the need for parents to put their kids at risk by putting them with a babysitter they don't know, or in some in-home daycare where you don't know who comes to that person's house. Uncle George might be a pedophile. Well, you know Northcott isn't going to have one because we all had to have background checks, and we have these cameras in all the rooms that as a parent you will be able to take a look and see what your kid is doing. So that, and to continue to do our work of serving the neighborhood the way we're supposed to. Just maintain our mission. If we do that, we'll be fine. Now, my wild card dream is to put a second floor on this building. Because we could serve more people in-house. Because right now,
a lot of dreams.
Yeah, right now we're going to be rehabbing a building for a training center, because we are too big in terms of training to actually be in this building. So we need to move that elsewhere. So that we will actually be doing later this year.
Well, it certainly sounds like exciting things that are going to be happening around here. And
Yes,
we certainly appreciate your taking the time out to let us interview you. And thank you.
Yeah,
very
we
much.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are many young women able to be involved in these programs and work towards securing higher paying jobs here?
Yes, we do have various women in our training programs. We have our program that we work with, United Migrant Opportunity Services, UMOS. And in that program, we work to transform people's lives with sustainable jobs, working with small employers, women, minority employers, and providing them job training. And then what the option is that many employers take after doing a 6-month period in that program is hiring those individuals via men or women. And those jobs are a variety of jobs. In our construction jobs and our arborist jobs, we have had women participate. We are just really gearing back up since the pandemic. We'll be having another class starting this year. Mr. Kearney has been working with Milwaukee Area Technical College and getting all of that a start date. And our other arm of services, our training and employment specialists, have been recruiting people. So we have had women that are roofers, who are arborists, construction, lead abatement, those jobs that we have had a long history in providing to this community, that provide family living wages that are sustainable, but they're also transferable.
So while they're working on these programs, where do they live?
Well, they have their own house.
They have their own house.
Yes, they have their.
Not through North.
No, we don't. We work to build houses with Gorman and Company, but we do not have housing
For them.
direct services for anyone. Yes. And Mr. Kearney really is the expert on the construction side. I'm the program person and working, with the pantry and things like that, but he has all the statistics on that one.
So the pantry.
Yes, the pantry.
So do you let people come in and just shop, or do you bag it and give?
We do both. We do both. We do have where most of our fresh foods and vegetables, we do have it on the table along with breads. We really have tried to, under Ms. Kearney's leadership here at Northcott, is to have fresh food access to help with the disparities, the health disparities, especially amongst Black and brown people with diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, and things of that nature. So we've also noticed a significant increase in our food pantry since all the laws are changing and going back to pre-pandemic stage. The SNAP benefits have gotten cut, and we've noticed a huge increase just in the last 30 days. So we have a whole system. We have several pantries. We have our general pantry that come from local grocers and other various streams of funding. And then we have our our TFAP, our emergency pantry, that is funded through the federal government, state, down through Hunger Task Force is our partner here. And that is for the 53212 zip code. And so our philosophy, no one leaves without any food. We provide food. In our pantry, we service all zip codes. We're open every day of the week from 10 to 4. We complement that on Tuesdays and Fridays with working with Healthcare Connection, Health Connection, to provide screening, testing, COVID, masks. We always have masks, hand sanitation for anyone, all the safety prevention tools. So we do vaccinations here. It's our vaccination refrigerator system, boosters, and then we have our Stump Out the COVID campaign mitigation program for staff. We get tested once a week. Just to keep down surges. It's Northcott, I've been on board just for 2 years, but I was amazed to find out when the pandemic hit, Northcott didn't close. Ms. Kearney can really talk about that more so, but I was just amazed with that because everybody was shutting down. But so we had people come from South Milwaukee, we had people come from Brown Deer, we had people come right from across the freeway, Glendale, from all over. We just analyzed our data of the food pantry, and our 3 highest zip codes is 53212, 06, which is the hardest hit zip code across the country in the United States, and 53209, which is the east side, and a large portion of Glendale, which is a suburb.
Yeah.
So the need is great all over.
One of the things about Northcott, which I didn't realize, this is where I did full 360. I started at UWM in the field of social work, and I had one of my field placements here. And at that time, it wasn't at this location. They were off of Garfield, a little small church, and we did after school programming. So fast forward 30 years later, I came to work here, and I realized how much they did. I mean, with the job training program, with the arborists and landscaping and construction, demolishing homes, building homes, just really a multifaceted organization. And so that's what I came to appreciate as an employee, is to be able to help them sustain these programming, training programs, as well as the opportunities for our young people. So again, like I said, we couldn't do it without all the sponsorships. And it takes quite a bit for us at our Christmas time, people to donate the toys, the different churches that donate gloves and kits for the teams, hygiene kits and stuff like that. All that builds, our Tis the Season events that we're trying to do for Christmas and Thanksgiving. The last event we do at the end of the year, of course, is our homicide vigil for those families who've lost a loved one to violence. And we do that and partner with all the churches, Micah, and all the different church groups come together. No matter what your dimension is, we all come together and
So
support.
you go from one church to
we
the
actually,
other?
the Ephesian Church right down the street hosted the last 2 years. And each of the families get a candle with their loved one's name on it. Have different pastors and grief counselors there, to kind of talk to them, and then also make sure that they have a resource after that event, because we know they're going to be grieving for a long time. So a lot of the funeral homes now have grief support groups and therapy groups, and so we kind of partner with them and say, here's a new resource for you when you're ready, because we know not everybody is ready, no matter how far, 6 months, 1 year, it's just when they're ready. So we just try to partner, and a lot of our partners extend themselves to, allowing us to have additional resources. So we just had one of the guys from Chase Bank. He's like, "What do you need?" Because he's part of the planning committee, and we're like, "Well," he said, "You don't have enough pens. We got plenty of pens." We said, "We'll take all the Chase pens we can get, the little notepads, whatever." But it's about, they know Northcott. Even though people think, you have a large budget, a lot goes into building that budget, and a lot that we have to do with that budget. So
I don't know how you have the energy to do all these major projects you're doing throughout the year.
Mr. Kearney, Mr. Kearney, that's all his vision, because being a past executive director, my agency was much smaller. We did, quite a few things with fathers and things like that. But when I came here, I'm like, how do you, multi-budgets, you got money from the city, state, foundations, private donations. It's just a lot. But he does it.